thank you for watching this week's episode. Tonight we'll be reviewing the film Salo, directed by Pier Pasolini. My guest is Gari Hart, film critic for the Chicago Examiner. You can read all Gary's film reviews at www.examiner.com. Be sure to check them out. Salo is Pasolini's interpretation of the 18th century novel The 120 Days of Sodom by Alphonse Francois, better known as the Marquis de Sade. Pasolini transplants Francois' novel from medieval France to 1944 Italy and tells the story of four powerful and wealthy fascists who kidnap 18 young men and women and, over the course of 4 months, subject them to a series of extreme sexually perverted acts, abuse, and violence culminating in the teenagers' torturous murders. Needless to say, this is not a movie for the faint of heart or queasy of the stomach. Now a part of the illustrious Criterion collection, Salo was surrounded by incredible controversy regarding its content, as well as its intent, when it was released in 1975 and still remains one of the most controversial films of all time. It was director Pasolini's final film. He was murdered shortly before its release by someone who ran him over repeatedly with his own car. Gary, what did you think of Salo?
Overall, it's not something I would suggest watching, and nothing that I enjoyed watching myself. How this film got admitted into the Criterion collection is past me because there's nothing but shock value to it. I think the only thing that I personally dug about the film was that it's in movements, or what they call circles.
The circle of manias, the circle of shit, and the circle of blood.
I think it did break a lot of boundaries, which is essential to the evolution of film, and that makes it a very contentious piece of art, but that doesn't mean you have to like it.
In your opinion, what was the point of the film?
I would say that the film shows the corruption that comes with power and the depths in which human depravity can sink, contend with the drive of the film. However, with the director's political opinions, I find it hard to believe that he would make a film against or denoting granted political authority. In fact, I think he'd make one that actually glorifies it. I also think given the director's past work, which were reported to be sexually deviant, I wonder if, in his own eyes, he was making a film that exploits sexual eccentricities.
Could the same messages and themes have been conveyed to the audience without the use of such graphic imagery?
Certainly, but I think that can be said about any book. For example, Nightmare on Elm Street, if there is a message to the film, could that message have been conveyed without Freddy Krueger being a birth victim? To me, it's not a question of whether it could have been done or not minus the graphicness, because it's immutably there. The director chose those scenes and those shots to put on film to be repeated over and over again. And even if magically that film was destroyed, it wouldn't change the fact that those scenes were shot.
Salo was named by the Chicago Film Critics Association as the 65th scariest movie of all time on their top 100 list, 17 spots above Scream 2. Would you consider Salo a horror film?
Not conventionally, no. Although I can see why someone might be frightened by it. Because if you take the situation and really take time to put yourself in it, it is kind of terrifying. Try to imagine 4 persons of political power taking you from your home, and then knowing that they're going to be able to do whatever they want to you, and in this film specifically sexual. And if you try to escape, they're not going to kill you, they're just going to make the situation worse.
Without bloodshed, there is no pardon.
So not even death will release you from it. So I wouldn't tell anyone that they're wrong if they called it a horror film. Scream 2, on the other hand, that's an entirely different story.
If the Walt Disney Studios were to create an animated film about the Marquis de Sade using only pre-existing cartoon characters, which character would be the Marquis?
I guess that would be determined by if he was being portrayed as the villain or the hero. He was considered kind of an aristocrat, so I imagine as an antagonist, it would be the villain from the Aristocats. But I'm sure he considers himself more something like the cartoon Fox Robin from the cartoon Robin.
Well, that's about all the time we had for this episode. I'd like to thank my guest Gari Hart for joining me this evening and sharing his thoughts on the film Salo. Remember, you can read all of Gary's film reviews at www.examiner.com. Please join us next time when we'll be reviewing Herbie Fully Loaded, a movie about a demonically possessed Volkswagen Beetle and the young woman who loves it, starring Lindsay Lohan and Michael Keaton. Thank you for watching. Good night.